Google Abuse Program Policies and Enforcement. The program policies below apply to Drive, Docs, Sheets, Slides, Forms, and the news sites. Policies play an important role in maintaining a positive experience for everyone using Google products. We need to curb abuses that threaten our ability to provide these services, and we ask that everyone abide by the policies below to help us achieve this goal. After we are notified of a potential policy violation, we may review the content and take action, including restricting access to the content, removing the content, limiting or terminating a user's access to Google products. When applying these policies, we may make exceptions based on artistic, educational, documentary, or scientific considerations, or when there are other substantial benefits to the public from not taking action on the content. We may take action on accounts that go above storage quota limits. For example, we may reject new uploads, compress existing content, or delete content if you exceed your storage quota or fail to obtain sufficient additional storage. There's a link. Read more about storage quotas here. Be sure to check back from time to time as these policies may change. Please also refer to Google's Terms of Service for more information. Report abuse. If you believe that someone is violating the policies found below, report abuse. And there's a link there. To report copyright infringement or other legal issues, please use this tool, that's a link, which will guide you through the process of reporting content that you believe warrants removal from Google's services based on applicable laws. Program policies. Account hijacking. Do not access another user's account without their permission. We may take appropriate action if we are notified of account hijacking, which may include removing access to some of our products or disabling your Google account. Account inactivity. Use the product to remain active. Activity includes accessing the product's content or storing new content on the product at least once every 2 years. We may take action on inactive accounts, which may include deleting your content from the product. And there's a link to learn more here. Child sexual abuse and exploitation. Do not create, upload, or distribute content that exploits or abuses children. This includes all child sexual abuse materials. To report content on a Google product that may exploit a child, click Report Abuse. That's a link. If you find content elsewhere on the internet, please contact the appropriate agency in your country directly. More broadly, Google prohibits the use of our products to endanger children. This includes, but is not limited to, predatory behavior towards children such as child grooming. For example, befriending a child online to facilitate either online or offline sexual contact and or exchanging sexual imagery with that child. Sextortion. For example, threatening or blackmailing a child by using real or alleged access to a child's intimate images. Sexualization of a minor. For example, imagery that depicts, encourages, or promotes the sexual abuse of children or the portrayal of children in a manner that could result in the sexual exploitation of children. And trafficking of a child. For example, advertising or solicitation of a child for commercial sexual exploitation. We will remove such content and take appropriate action. which may include reporting to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, limiting access to product features, and disabling accounts. If you believe a child is in danger or has been subject to abuse, exploitation, or trafficking, contact the police immediately. Circumvention. Do not engage in actions intended to bypass our policies, subvert restrictions placed on your account, or distribute content removed in other Google products. This includes, but is not limited to, creating or using multiple accounts or other methods intended to engage in a behavior that was previously prohibited. Publicly sharing apps suspended by Google Play developer policies. Publicly sharing videos that do not comply with the YouTube community guidelines. We may take appropriate action if we are notified of circumvention, which may include restricting the sharing of files, removing access to some of our products, or disabling your Google account. Dangerous and illegal activities. Do not use this product to engage in illegal activities or to promote activities, goods, services, or information that cause serious and immediate harm to people or animals. While we permit general information for educational, documentary, scientific, or artistic purposes about this content, we draw the line when the content directly facilitates harm or encourages illegal activity. We will take appropriate action if we are notified of unlawful activities, which may include reporting you to the relevant authorities, removing access to some of our products, or disabling your Google account. Harassment, bullying, and threats. Do not harass, bully, or threaten others. We also don't allow this product to be used to engage or incite others in these activities. This includes singling someone out for malicious abuse, threatening someone with serious harm, sexualizing someone in an unwanted way, exposing private information of someone else that could be used to carry out threats, disparaging or belittling attacks of violence or tragedy, inciting others to carry out these activities, or harassing someone in other ways. Keep in mind that online harassment is illegal in many places and can have serious offline consequences for both the harasser and the target. We may take appropriate action if we are notified of threats or harm or other dangerous situations, which we may include reporting you to the relevant authorities, removing access to some of our products, or disabling your Google account. Hate speech. Do not engage in hate speech. Hate speech is content that promotes or condones violence against or has a primary purpose of inciting hatred against an individual or group on the basis of their race or ethnic origin, religion, disability, age, nationality, veteran status, sexual orientation, gender identity, or any other characteristic that is associated with systemic discrimination or marginalization. Impersonation and misrepresentation. Do not impersonate a person or organization or misrepresent yourself. This includes impersonating any persons or organizations you don't represent, or providing misleading information about a user's or site's identity, qualifications, ownership, purpose, products, services, or business. This also includes content or accounts misrepresenting or concealing their ownership or primary purpose, such as misrepresenting or intentionally concealing your country or of origin or other material details about yourself when directing content about politics, social issues, or matters of public concern to users in a country other than your own. We do allow parody, satire, and use of pseudonyms or pen names. Just avoid content that is likely to mislead your audience about your true identity. Malware and similar malicious content. Do not transmit malware or any content that harms or interferes with the operation of the networks, servers, end-user devices, or other infrastructure. This includes the direct hosting, embedding, or transmission of malware, viruses, destructive code, or other harmful or unwanted software or similar content. This also includes content that transmits viruses, causes pop-ups, attempts to install software without the user's consent, or otherwise impacts users with malicious code. See our safe browsing policies for more information. And a link is provided. Misleading content. Do not distribute content that deceives, misleads, or confuses users. This includes misleading content related to civic and democratic processes, content that is demonstrably false and could significantly undermine participation or trust in civic or democratic processes. This includes information about public voting procedures, political candidate eligibility based on age or birthplace, election results, or census participation that contradicts official government records. This also includes incorrect claims that a political figure or government official has died, been involved in an accident, or is suffering from a sudden serious illness. Misleading content related to harmful health practices. Misleading health or medical content that promotes or encourages others to engage in practices that may lead to serious physical or emotional harm to individuals or serious public health harm. Manipulated media. Media that has been technically manipulated or doctored in a way that misleads users and may pose a serious risk of egregious harm. Misleading content may be allowed in an educational, documentary, scientific, or artistic content, but please be mindful to provide enough information to help people to understand this context. In some cases, no amount of context will allow this content to remain on our platforms. Non-consensual explicit imagery. Do not store or distribute private, nude, sexually explicit, or non-explicit, intimate, and sexual images or videos without the subject's consent. If someone has sent a private nude, a sexually explicit or non-explicit intimate and sexual image or video of you, please report it to us here, and they provide a link. Personal and confidential information. Do not store or distribute other people's personal or confidential information without authorization. This includes the use of sensitive information such as U.S. Social Security numbers, bank account numbers, credit card numbers, images of signatures, and personal health documents. In most cases where this information is broadly available elsewhere on the Internet or in public records, like national ID numbers listed on a government website, we generally don't process enforcement actions. Phishing. P-H-I-S-H-I-N-G. Do not use this product for phishing. This includes soliciting or collecting sensitive data such as passwords, financial details, and social security numbers. Regulated goods and services. Do not sell, advertise, or facilitate the sale of regulated goods and services. Regulated goods and services include alcohol, gambling, pharmaceuticals, unapproved supplements, tobacco, fireworks, weapons, or health or medical devices. Sexually explicit material. Do not distribute content that contains sexually explicit material, such as nudity, graphic sex acts, and pornographic material. This includes driving traffic to commercial pornography sites. We allow nudity for educational, documentary, scientific, or artistic purposes. Spam. Do not spam. This may include unwanted promotional or commercial content, unwanted content that is created by an automated program, unwanted repetitive content, nonsensical content, or anything that appears to be a mass solicitation. System interference and abuse. Do not abuse this product and do not harm, degrade, or negatively affect the operation of networks, devices, or other infrastructure of Google or others. This includes degrading, disabling, or negatively interfering with any aspect of the products or services. We may take appropriate action if we are notified of system interference and abuse, which may include removing access to some of our products or disabling your Google account. Terrorist activities. Terrorist organizations are not permitted to use this product for any purpose, including recruitment. We'll also take action against the user for content related to terrorism, such as promoting terrorist acts, inciting violence, or celebrating terrorist attacks. If storing or distributing content related to terrorism for an educational, documentary, scientific, or artistic purpose, be mindful to provide enough information so the viewers understand the context. Unauthorized images of minors. Do not store or distribute images of minors without explicit consent from the minor's parent, guardian, or legal representative. If someone has stored or distributed an image of a minor without necessary consent, please report it to us here, and they provide a link. Violence and gore. Do not store or distribute violent or gory content involving real-life people or animals that's primarily intended to be shocking, sensational, or gratuitous. This includes ultra-graphic violence, such as dismemberment or close-up footage of mutilated corpses. Graphic materials, such as content containing significant amounts of blood, may be allowed in educational, documentary, scientific, or artistic content. But please be mindful to provide enough information to help people understand the context. In some cases, content may be so violent or shocking that no amount of context will allow that content to remain on our platforms. Lastly, don't encourage others to commit specific acts of violence. Content use and submission. Policies for the template gallery. Google Docs may contain galleries that may present third-party content, also known as content galleries. Content galleries include, without limitation, the templates gallery and any gallery that Google chooses at its discretion to make available to you. The content and information in the content galleries, such as templates, was created by Google or third parties. As between you and the creators of gallery content, any intellectual property or property rights remain with the creators. The gallery content, A, is meant to serve as a suggestion only, and B, is not a substitute for professional advice or specific authoritative knowledge or direction. Google does not promise that the gallery content will work for your purposes, or that it is free from viruses, bugs, or other defects. The gallery content is provided as is without warranty of any kind. You alone bear the risk of using gallery content. Google and its suppliers provide no express warranties, guarantees, and conditions with regard to the gallery content. To the extent permitted under applicable law, Google excludes the implied warranties and conditions of merchantability, fitness for a particular work purpose, workmanlike effort, title, and non-infringement. If you choose to submit content to become part of the content galleries, you direct and authorize Google and its affiliates to host, link to, and otherwise incorporate your gallery submission into Google Docs, and you grant Google and its end users a worldwide, royalty-free, non-exclusive license to exercise the rights in the gallery submissions, as stated below. To reproduce the gallery submission, to create and reproduce derivative works of the gallery submission, to display publicly and distribute copies of the gallery submission, to display publicly and distribute copies of derivative works of the gallery submission. You agree that your license to Google end users will be perpetual. Furthermore, for the avoidance of doubt, Google reserves, and you grant Google, the right to syndicate the gallery submissions submitted by you through Google Docs, and to use that gallery submission in connection with any of the services offered by Google. You retain the right to stop distributing the gallery submission through the Google Docs content galleries at any time, provided, however, that any election will not serve to withdraw the licenses granted to Google end users under these terms of service. In order to stop distributing the gallery submission through the Google Docs content galleries, you must utilize the removal functions provided within the service, in which case the gallery submission removal will be effective within a reasonable amount of time. You represent and warrant that A. You own or have obtained the necessary legal rights to provide all gallery submissions you submit through Google Docs, and will maintain these rights for as long as the gallery submission is available to Google Docs, to Google end users. And B. All of the gallery submissions you would submit through Google Docs abide by the posted program policies. Google claims no ownership over any gallery submission you submit through Google Docs. You retain copyright and any other rights, including all intellectual property rights, you already hold in the gallery submission. You agree you are responsible for protecting and enforcing those rights, and that Google has no obligation to do so on your behalf. You agree that you are solely responsible for, and that Google has no responsibility to you or any third party for, any gallery submission that you submit. Google is not in any way responsible for the subsequent use or misuse by Google end users who has access to your gallery submission. Google reserves the right to remove any or all gallery submissions at its sole discretion. How Google can use your template submissions. If you choose to submit content to become part of the content galleries, you direct and authorize Google and its affiliates to host, link to, and otherwise incorporate your gallery submission into Google Docs, and you grant Google and its end users a worldwide, royalty-free, non-exclusive license to exercise the rights in the gallery submission as stated below. To reproduce the gallery submission, to create and reproduce derivative works of the gallery submission, to display publicly and distribute copies of the gallery submission, to display publicly and distribute copies of derivative works of the gallery submission. You agree that your license to Google end users will be perpetual. Furthermore, for the avoidance of doubt, Google reserves, and you grant Google, the right to syndicate the gallery submission submitted by you through Google Docs, and to use that gallery submission in connection with any of the services offered by Google. You retain the right to stop distributing the gallery submission through the Google Docs content galleries at any time, provided, however, that such election will not serve to withdraw the licenses granted to Google end users under these terms of service. In order to stop distributing the gallery submission through the Google Docs content galleries, you must utilize the removal functions provided within the service, in which case the gallery submission removal will be effective within a reasonable amount of time. You represent and warrant that A, you own that or have obtained the necessary legal rights to provide all gallery submissions you submit through Google Docs. It will maintain these rights for as long as the gallery submission is available to Google end users. And B, all of the gallery submissions you submit through Google Docs abide by the posted program policies. Google claims no ownership over any gallery submission you submit through Google Docs. You retain copyright and any other rights, including all intellectual property rights, you already hold in the gallery submission. You agree that you are not responsible for protecting or enforcing those rights, and Google has no obligation to do so on your behalf. You agree you are solely responsible for, and that Google has no responsibility to you or any third party for, any gallery submission that you submit. Google is not in any way responsible for the subsequent use or misuse by Google end users who access your gallery submission. Google reserves the right to remove any or all gallery submissions at its sole discretion. Copyright infringement. Respect copyright laws. Do not share copyrighted content without authorization, or provide links to sites where people can obtain unauthorized downloads of copyrighted content. It is our policy to respond to clear notices of alleged copyright infringement. Repeated infringement of intellectual property rights, including copyright, will result in account termination. If you see a violation of Google copyright policies, report copyright infringement, and they provide a link here. Content distribution. Google Drive allows you to store, share, and stream video content, but it should not be used as a replacement for a content distribution network. For large-scale public streaming, YouTube is a better fit. Google Drive will restrict usage when it appears that it is being used for large-scale public streaming. Repeated violations may result in additional action, including terminating your account or ability to use Google Drive. Translation of our policies are provided for your convenience. If there is a conflict between the text of this policy and the text of the English language version of the policy, the text of the English language version of the policy will take precedence. This was the Google Abuse Program Policies and Enforcement recording.